We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Jason. Jason started listening to us just a few weeks ago, and he's only recently fallen down the rabbit hole of audio and home theater. It started when he tried out a DIY build of some small speakers for his computer, and he ended up realizing just how much he had been missing before. So now he's all in on audio. He wants a dedicated home theater. He wants to build one in his basement. So he already built speakers, so this dude's handy. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind when I answer these questions. He wants to carefully plan everything in advance, and he tends to do all of the construction himself. He also intends to build his own speakers and subs. He wants... Are you going to say something already?
I was just going to say, we don't know if Jason is like a contractor or if he's a handyman or what level, right? So that's important because when you're talking about actually doing the construction of an entire room, there are going to be certain things like HVAC or the electrical system, whatever, that need to be up to code.
Right. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can't kind of...
Yeah. It doesn't mean you can't actually do it yourself. It just means you need to have it inspected by someone who has the proper certification. Because if you're going to be touching the electrical, which I imagine you are, I imagine you'll be installing outlets and lighting and stuff like that. You can do that. You can physically do that stuff yourself, but it needs to be checked out by a licensed electrician before you close up the walls and things like that. So maybe Jason is a general contractor already. We don't know. That could be fine, but we're just saying for both Jason and for anyone else who's thinking of doing it themselves, it's not just as simple as I'm going to throw up some walls and throw in some outlets and put up my own lighting and everything's going to be just fine because I'm a handy person and I can physically do it. It's like you need to be within code. That's important. So that's all we're saying there.
So let's assume then that he is a general contractor and knows how to do all these things.
Right.
Because if not, then this question becomes infinitely harder, and I don't want that. Yeah. So he wants very good soundproofing so he can crank up things in the theater without bothering his wife upstairs. He wants 2 rows of seats with a 7.2.4 Atmos configuration. He'd like an acoustically transparent screen with the largest, reasonably sized screen size. And he wants a custom lighting system, possibly a tray ceiling with one of those fiber optic Starfield ceilings. I will say I kind of hate those, but if you
I'm
want
not a big fan of the Starfield thing either.
That's something that seems cool, and until you live with it for a while, and then everybody goes,
and you turn on your projector, and you're like, "Why do I even have this thing?" When it's dark and the Starfield would look okay, I need it to be off anyway because my projector's on right now, and I don't want extra light. So,
but anyways, if you want it, hey man, who am I to stop?
Yeah.
So the theater section of his basement will be taken down to the studs. So at this early stage, he's trying to figure out the best way to construct the dedicated room, and then how the screen, seating, and speakers should be laid out. Total length of the theater room should end up being about 26 feet. But because of the placement of the stairs in his utility room, he'll have whatever. He's got different widths in here.
Yeah.
It's about a 15-foot portion of the room can be 14.5 feet wide, but the rest of the room will be about 10.5 feet wide. So, lots to think about, lots to plan. Can we get him started as far as orientation, layout, and just the general shape of his room as it goes? First of all, you want to go to soundproofing.com. and
Soundproofingcompany.com.
That's it. And start reading everything they have.
And he did mention, like, in his email, double drywall, green glue, sound clips with hat channels, so it appears as though he has already gone there, or at least someplace with very similar information. But that's primarily about your walls, right? So he's like, this is a basement, and I'm assuming the 14.5-foot long wall there is an exterior wall, and I'm assuming that the 26.5-foot long wall on the side there is an exterior wall. Those don't really need to be soundproofed, right?
Right.
Even if you're talking about decoupling the wall, you're going to be putting up at a minimum some framing to hold your drywall along those walls. That's all you need, right? Have some insulation inside that framing, 1 layer of drywall. That's all you need there, because you're not blocking sound from getting to the ground outside your basement. So don't spend money there.
There's a bedroom in there and an office, and then there's a
those
bathroom.
ones, right? Those ones on those sides. But I'm saying for the exterior walls, you're not worrying about soundproofing.
Yeah. Is there there's not a door at the back of this thing? There's not, is there?
Well, so it appears as though the idea was you come down the stairs and there'll be a door that doesn't currently exist. but he wants to close off the section. So you come down the stairs, and he wants to put like a door right in front of the stairs. Now, this is something I wanted to address. I don't know. He sent us a diagram, a 3D mock-up, and I don't know if this is perfectly to scale or whatnot. But there is a very important thing, which is at the bottom of your stairs, most places code says you need a 3-foot square landing at the bottom of those stairs. And believe me, you want that anyway. Even if code in your area allows for it to be 2.5 feet or something, you want a 3-foot square landing at the bottom of your stairs, because what if you want to bring a chair downstairs?
Gotta be able to turn that corner, dude.
You got to be able to turn that corner. And really importantly, and people don't think about this, but I mean, in the future, someone could be in a wheelchair and you have a stair lift.
Yeah.
So that you can get into the basement even though you're making use of a wheelchair or just a walker or a scooter or something like that. You need to be able to turn a wheelchair or a scooter around in the landing at the bottom of the stairs. So going by the diagram that he sent, it looks like there's very little space at the bottom of the stairs if he puts the wall where he's drawn the dotted lines.
Yes.
It looks like a foot. That's not enough. You need a... Yeah. So... draw yourself a 3-foot square, put that somewhere at the bottom of the stairs and go, okay, my walls need to fit around this, which is okay. It doesn't look like that would destroy his theater plans. The door just might need to be a little bit, farther back. It might need to be beside the utility room.
So does that mean that everybody, it looks like anybody who comes down here is going to have to go into the home theater? Because there's right now there's no right
landing.
Turn. There's no landing. There's no right turn out of this thing as you're coming down the stairs.
But that's what I mean. I don't know if that's actually drawn the way it really is, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But assuming that it is drawn the way it is, that's really, you got to have a landing at the bottom of those stairs. So that's just something we want you to be really aware of.
So I think you should do, at least to begin with here, is that. Say option A, option B. I'm not really sure.
So option A is he could have the projection screen on the wall that's 14.5 foot wide, or he could have the projection screen on the wall that's 10.5 feet wide.
You're going to have it on the 14-foot one, yeah.
The 14.5 foot. We both agree that's where your screen should be.
What I would do is actually build a false wall there, acoustically transparent screen. You talked about that already. I don't necessarily think you need that. I think that you could just put a fixed frame in there and then put some in wall or in whatever and speakers,
or even just regular speakers with some insulation around them
to the side and underneath. I think that's what I would do. It would be cheaper and it would be easier, and you could actually keep all your gear up there too. I mean, it could be all there. He was
actually saying he has room in his utility room to put his gear in there if he wants to. So that's another option as well.
Might be taking a chunk out of that utility room so you can have a landing. So maybe don't.
Well, although that might be load bearing though, where those walls are. I'm guessing is load bearing. Very likely.
And then I would do is I would put the 2 rows of seats sort of flush with the wall that's next to the stairs. So you have a walkway on the left side of your theater, and there'd be 2 rows of seats on the right side there.
No, it'd be a walkway on the right side of his theater because he's facing the 14.5 foot wall.
It'd be the left side because I want because it's a 10.5 foot, right? I want the seating to be flush with the wall that has the stairs on it. So on the left side of the theater would be the walkway.
Why would there be a walk? Oh, to get to the seats.
Get to the seats. What do you mean? Why would it be a walkway?
So either way, what we're saying is the skinnier portion of your room is the back.
That's the back.
And the wider portion of your room is the front.
That's right.
That's how we would orient this room. I want to talk about HVAC just in the sense of you need to consider HVAC.
Yeah.
Air needs to be able to get into this room and back out of this room. You don't necessarily need it to be forced air. It doesn't have to be. This could just be a simple air exchange. But there has to be some way for air to get into this room and out of this room. Again, if you're a general contractor, you know that, and that's fine. If you're not, though, because there are some people who are like, I got a space in my basement, I'm going to throw up some walls and close it in, and they don't even think about air circulation, right? Because it's not always top of mind. That's one of those things, if you aren't licensed for that part of this build, physically, you could do it yourself, but make sure someone who's licensed checks it out before you close things up. It's really important to have proper airflow.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention that as a concern.
Right. So I basically that's where I would start.
Yep.
You need a riser for your second row of seats. I guess. I mean, you could just not.
Yeah. And if you're concerned that the front of your theater is wider than the rear of your theater, and you're like, how are my surround back speakers going to work in such a scenario? It's like we've been saying in previous questions, it's fine for your surround back speakers to be physically quite close to one another. And it's not as though you've cut the width of your room in half, right?
Right.
You've taken what was 14 and a half feet and lost about 4 feet of that on the right-hand side. So you can still have your surround back speakers on the back wall. They'll be closer together to one another, but they'll still be centered for the room. And he was saying, okay, screen size, what should he go for? Seating distance, what should he go for? I'm going to suggest to you a 135-inch diagonal screen.
Mm-hmm.
And that works really nicely for all sorts of reasons. It means the screen is about 10 feet wide. So on your 14.5-foot wall, that leaves you a nice couple of feet on either side for your front, left, and right speakers to go. But 135 is also a really nice size for most projectors. They can light that up really nicely without it looking too dim by getting too large a screen. You start going into the 150-inch screen size, things can sometimes start to look a bit dim, but 135, pretty much all the nice projectors can handle that. And if you sit 12 feet away from that, which means your front row of seats will be within the wider portion of your theater, that's going to look perfect, in my opinion. So if you sit 12 feet away, 135-inch screen, your second row of seats then goes into that narrower portion of your room towards the back, so maybe you have one less seat in your second row. I think that'll all work out really nicely. And I would go for a drop ceiling, because this is a basement.
Yeah.
So go for a drop ceiling.
Yeah. That'll make everything a lot easier. I mean,
Much.
Yeah.
Get the acoustic ceiling tiles, right? And that serves as your damping and as your barrier. Then you insulate above that, and it's already decoupled because it's a drop ceiling. You've hit all 4 parts of Soundproofing Company's system for soundproofing. You've got the decoupling, you've got the mass, you've got the damping, and you've got the insulation. So, drop ceiling.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.